Hello again and welcome back. Today I'm gonna be recapping this Japanese nice Super Famicom that I have. It's a really clean unit, and I think recapping it will restore it back to its former glory and continue to work for another 30-40 years. So without further ado, let's get started by disassembling this console. Okay, now it is totally off. I'm gonna make this shield for this top part outside, and that's pretty much what we are up with. And we will be taking off the main board, and we will check where are all the other capacitors, maybe something inside here. And so let me get this and get back to you. Okay, so we are off now with only the board. I have disconnected the shield, disconnected pretty much everything, but now we are going to disassemble this heatsink because looks like everything is underneath. So let me do it right now with this one first. And now it can be, or it should be free. Yes, it is free. No thermal paste. And by the looks of it, there are these screws over here that needs to be disconnected in order to take this off. So I'm gonna do them off camera and get back to you again. Okay, so now everything is under our control and we can pretty much start. But first, let me grab a pen. But before the pen, let me clean this board from all of that junk over here and stuff like that. Maybe general cleaning is good. And then we will mark all the caps. And after we mark all the caps, we'll proceed from there. So let me get that done and get back. Spray some alcohol right there. Give it a little brush. With a couple of iterations, it should be good to go. Doesn't have to be perfect anyway. Yep, that should do. Okay, so now with my pen, I'm going to mark all the capacitors that needs to go like this in order for us to know them. And then we'll proceed from there. Surprisingly, it has really low amount of capacitance. Like there are maybe 10, 12 capacitors total for such a nostalgic console. Okay, now the capacitors are marked. Now next step is what I always recommend, is you grab your soldering iron, not any desoldering tool, and start to do some tinning for the caps. Maybe something like this. Put it like that and you tin the pads. Put fresh and new solder in, which will make it a lot easier for you to dismantle it later on. Maybe for this small capacitor it shouldn't be like that because it will have a problem. Okay. Through hole capacitors from the other side. These two are for the through-hole capacitor, something like this, and the other through-hole capacitor is this one. There are some others over there. That's the last one. Last one is here. Okay, So now that we are done, let's fire up the desoldering gun and try to dismantle the through-hole capacitors first, and let's go from there. Okay, so let's get started with this big capacitor first. It's right here, and then wick, heat, and then wick. Okay, now we go with our soldering iron and clean the tip first, then apply some liquid flux. Let's try some liquid flux right around here, just a tiny amount, and then with our soldering iron, with me holding it from the other side, we're gonna heat up this and take off the leg like this. Yep, it's out. That's about it. Next one is this guy right here. So I'm gonna apply a bit of flux, just a tiny amount, and then with the desoldering gun, gonna heat, and then suck, heat, and then suck it up, and it's out. Now we are only left with this capacitor, through-hole capacitor right here. So let's proceed to this one right in here. Tiny amount of flux of, that's not tiny amount. Okay, I'm holding it. It has bent legs, which is something very. Let's start with this leg right here. Yeah. The other one. Yes. Okay, let me grab this. And it's out. We still have one leg right here. Let's try to take it. And it's out. Okay, so let's start desoldering the surface mount components using hot air. I'm gonna be from a weird angle, but it's like this: 400 degrees. Heat the capacitor from all sides, and try to gently wiggle it up until it gives up like this. Okay, next is this guy. I think it's gonna be ready soon. Yes, it's out. Smaller capacitors are actually easier to work with using hot air. Than longer capacitors or bigger capacitors. It doesn't show on camera, but you can really see the solder is trying to melt ever so gently. So when I see that, I start to wiggle around until I have the capacitor in my tweezers. and the solder that we added in the previous step actually helps so much, because the old solder maybe not so perfect anymore. And now we have only this last small capacitor, I guess. Yeah, it is. Let's start to do it. It's up. Okay, so now let me clean the pads like this with alcohol and with anything that you have to clean, and let me get back to you. Okay, I'm cleaning the pads the best I can right now, because I'm out of solder wick, unfortunately, but it doesn't matter. And so now give it a gentle wipe from here like this, and yes, they are ready to be soldered again. So now let's put fresh solder on all the pads, the surface mount caps, and we'll proceed from there. And now would be a nice chance, if you have any legs that still hooked up or something, you can just basically take them off. Okay, so let me start on the electrolytic caps. For me, I'm using this kit from Console 5. They are one of the best, if not the best, who provide such caps. And let me take first the big electrolytic capacitor. And we shouldn't miss the polarity, the positive, which is for this side, and the negative is for this side. Since the pad is not really clean, let me use my soldering iron again to do that. If by any means you couldn't clean the holes like I am right now, the technique I'm giving you right now is just to put solder in the holes like this, as if they are surface mount, and then you bring the capacitor, make the legs equal distance, and then let me grab it from another angle, and then we will simultaneously insert the caps like this, the legs like this. It's very hard to do it on camera. Yes. Now it is on. But to complete the job, you need to go and make an orientation like this. Hold the cap from one side and heat the joints from the other side. And gently push it down. Okay, so now I soldered all the three electrolytic capacitors using the same way as this one, and I cleaned up the joints and everything is fine. Now let's start doing the surface mount capacitors. I'm not gonna use hot air again, I'm just gonna use my soldering iron. Let's start from this this, for example, C64, IC C64 as 33 microfarads. Hold it in its place like this. Yes, and the other side as well. Yes, it should be okay now. Let's move to the other one. In one place. Tack it with solder. and redo it from this side. Redo the other one, make sure it is seated. Not perfect, but will do the job. Yes. So now let's go for C73 right here. This is C73. I'm gonna add a little bit of flux like this, and C73 is labeled as 74 microfarad, which is the bigger one. This is the 74 microfarad. Bigger ones are always easier and nicer to do. Okay. Yep, looks fine. Okay, this tricky one. It's very hard to do it on camera. Okay, I'll do it off camera because those two are very close. Okay, so I did the other two off camera, basically the same thing. But now let's talk about what we call the jail bar fix. It doesn't. This one particularly doesn't need one for some reason. Maybe because I'm using the EverDrive. But generally, it's good to have more capacitance for the power supply, like this. This is the output and this is the input. I have 470 microfarad left from my cap, so I'm gonna be soldering it like this, okay, because this is how you solder it to the output. So let me try first to bend it around, maybe from here like this. Okay, let's try to solder it first and then see what should we do. This is the first leg and this is the positive leg. Positive is the output and negative is for the ground. Okay, this looks nice, and I will check continuity and then maybe position it like this. Okay, this seems okay. Okay, that should be sufficient, and I don't think there is any short to speak about. And that concludes our tutorial. Now some others do one of these chips here, the ADC, they put more capacitance on there, which helps, and some people even replace this regulator entirely by putting a more powerful one like 1.5 amps and so on. For me, I don't think I need that, but it's nice to have. So all I have to do right now is just basically return it to the way it is and test it, and that's gonna be the end of this tutorial. Please like, share and subscribe. Check thundertronics.net for my products and for future tutorials, as well as maybe check the blog as well, and see you next time.